Being a stage manager is all about communication. So today we're going to take a look at the quintessential communication tool available to stage managers, the callboard. My name is Kent, and this is your half-hour call. Attention cast and crew, this is your half-hour call. Half hour to the top of the show. Half hour, please. Alrighty folks, welcome back to yet another episode of the Almost Complete Guide to Stage Management. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Kent and you are watching Half Hour Call. Half Hour Call is dedicated to shining the spotlight on technical theater and providing more accessible theater training. So go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell if you never want to miss another how-to video, interview with industry experts, or updates on the theater industry as a whole. So the first question to answer is, what is a callboard? A callboard is a bulletin board located in a rehearsal studio or theater that is used as a central hub of communication for a certain production. While a callboard is absolutely essential and is an epicenter for communication, it is not the end-all be-all when it comes to communicating. A callboard is just one avenue or one mode of communication in your communication arsenal. And what that means is that you should never rely on it as your primary communication tool. A good rule of thumb that I use myself is that for new or unexpected information, I try to make that information available using at least 3 different modes of communication. So let's say we're in the middle of a run and we have an unexpected change to our performance schedule in 3 weeks. I'll send out an email with this information to the company and crew, I will make an announcement at Half Hour Call, and I will put an announcement and an updated production schedule on the callboard. So ultimately, you should think of a callboard less as a way for you to get information out to other people, and more of a way for other people to access information that they need. And speaking of that information, let's talk about what goes on a callboard. If you are working in a venue with multiple stages and multiple productions happening at the same time, the first thing you need to include on your callboard is the title of the show. The next thing that you'll need to include is a space for your sign-in sheet. Let's take a quick detour and clarify what a sign-in sheet is. A sign-in sheet is exactly what it sounds like. It is a sheet where the actors sign in. This specific format happens to be for an 8-show week, so that you don't have to print out a new one every single day. But that kind of sign-in sheet with a communal pen that everyone touches every day very well may be a thing of the past, or at least a thing of the past for a significant amount of time. If you've been following the reopening of theaters with bated breath like I have, you may have noticed that all of the safe equity performances that have been going on have sign-in sheets that look a lot less like this and a lot more like this. What used to be a really simple process of taking a pen and writing your name or a check mark or a little doodle for the stage manager to look at later is much more complicated now. After doing a temperature check, a blood oxygen level check, and then sanitizing the thermometer and the oximeter, the actor, stage manager, or crew member will take out their phone, scan a QR code, and fill out a short survey asking them if they've had any symptoms or if they've been in contact with anyone that has had COVID-19. And with this new development, an interesting phenomenon has begun to surface. It used to be that only actors were the ones who were required to sign in at the callboard. This is for 2 main reasons. Number 1, crew members all have their own individual department heads to report to, and number 2, actors can arrive at pretty unpredictable times and be in unpredictable locations as long as they are in the building by half hour. For example, the fantastic actor Rob McClure, who you may know from Chaplin, Beetlejuice, or Mrs. Doubtfire, has a tradition of running the seats every day before the first show as his cardio workout. So, since he signs in upon his arrival, the stage managers can know that he's in the building and accessible without having to look in his dressing room, have him check in with them, or literally chase him down out in the house. But now that health and safety protocols have been incorporated into the sign-in process, it's super important that everyone that is in the building goes through the exact same process. Pro tip, if physical sign-in sheets like this ever do make a comeback again, you can save a whole bunch of paper by laminating this one piece, and then instead of attaching a pen, attaching either a wet erase marker or a dry erase marker, so that every week you can erase the whole thing, and now you don't have to print out a new one. The next thing to include is the schedule. In rehearsals, this will probably be a daily call, but once we get into performances, this will be where you will post the weekly call. And of course, this is where the callboard gets its name. It is the board for the call. For long-running shows such as Broadway shows or national tours, you can also include the in and out on the callboard. I feel like I'm in a makeup tutorial. We will talk a whole lot more about in and out sheets once we get into performances, but the gist is that it tells you which understudies or covers are on for that performance and which principal performers are out. And it is a good idea to have a section for announcements. This is where you post anything that's out of the ordinary, so perhaps information about an opening night party, or a closing notice once a producer gives that to you. But one of the most common uses for the announcements section on a call board is to provide equity-required advance notice for things like photo calls or archival recordings. Pro tip, Actors Equity Association for most agreements requires 24 hours or more notice when any kind of filming or photography is going to be done. But not every actor wants to know when they're being filmed. A really simple solution to satisfy both parties is to create a filming notice like this. This top section here explains that marketing will be taking archival footage and footage for promotional materials some point this week, and then this bottom section here has the specific performance. All you have to do is fold it up like this, and then put an additional push pin right here, and any actor that wants to see this information can unfold it and read it, and then refold it, and make sure that it is covered for any actors that do not want to know. Another thing that can be super helpful to put on your call board are important phone numbers or important contact information. Numbers to consider including would be the stage management team. For regional theaters specifically, it might be a good idea to have the company manager and the facilities manager. For equity shows, it's really important to have the equity harassment hotline, information to contact the nearest regional office, and then your business rep. Some other things to consider including are emergency resources, including non-police emergency resources. And then for colleges, or at least for UCF, they have a free nighttime transportation service for if you need to be driven to your car or driven back to your apartment at night. But the most important thing for anyone that you would be using their personal phone number for is that you contact them and get their consent to post it in a semi-public place like a call board. The next section is required Actors Equity Association information. Obviously, this only applies to shows that are on an equity agreement, but there are several documents within the stage manager packet that Actors Equity Association provides that are required to be posted, including information sheets on the duties of the actor, emergency preparedness, harassment resources, and a few other things. The final section is theater information. This one is probably going to vary the most widely depending on what resources your theater has and what policies they like to have publicly posted. If no one gives you things to specifically post, some things to ask about are workers' compensation, anti-racism and anti-harassment policies, comp ticket information, company management information like how to make requests for housing, and then any information about pay, including what paymasters are being used or if there are direct deposit programs that you need to opt in for. Some stage managers will choose to do a morale boosting section like a riddle of the day or a fun fact of the week, something like that. But I would suggest looking at your team and specifically the size of your team and see if it's something that you're really going to be able to stay consistent with. Otherwise, it could become a well-intentioned New Year's resolution that sort of dissipates and disappears by the third week of rehearsal. A similarly optional morale booster can be to decorate the call board, whether that's theming it to the style of the show and leaving it the same throughout the production, or if it's shaking it up for holidays or other special monthly themes, almost like an RA at a college dorm. The most important thing to think about, in addition to whether your team is large enough to keep up with this, is the cost of the materials. Unless you're on a high-budget show like Broadway or national tours, there's probably not a lot of room in the budget for this kind of discretionary spending. So if this is the case for you, I would strongly suggest looking for ways to spruce up your call board that don't necessarily require you to subsidize the theater with your paycheck. Alright, so now let's get started with organizing the call board. Frankly, no matter what size your call board is, you will always find more things to add to it to the point that there is no longer enough room. My philosophy for organizing call boards is to start at eye level in the center and work my way out. The first documents I put up are going to be the ones that the actors need to look at every single day, and as we move outward and less prominent on the call board, it's going to become things that are more for reference or that might not be looked at every single day. So I'd probably land somewhere around here if I were organizing this call board. Obviously it's not secured to my bookcase, so it's a little hard to make things nice and neat and pretty, but in terms of the general layout, it's, I think, pretty solid. You may have noticed that theater information and Actors Equity Association information are really close to the bottom. This is because these are pretty much just for reference and aren't really looked at every day. So what I like to do is take the entire packet of information that I need to post for equity and the entire packet of information that I need to post for the theater and put it into a sheet protector, and then attach the whole sheet protector filled with information onto the call board so someone can take it off if they need to reference it. There would very likely be additional sections for national tours or certain theme park shows. For example, for any type of tour, I would include in the call board some kind of information sheet about the city that we're in that week. So things to do on your day off, where to go get food, what hotel we're staying at, things like that. And then if you haven't watched it, go check out my document design video, because I shared there a specific document I created for a theme park show where we had different scenarios based on the weather, and that was its own section on the call board because the actors needed to look at it daily. If this in any way demystified the process of creating a call board, please do me a huge favor and hit that like button, and then go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if you've ever made a call board, what's the most unique section you've ever had? Let me know in the comments down below. Hey there, friends. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I do not have a Patreon, and I do not plan on making a Patreon. If this fact bums you out, please do me a huge favor and support the channel by liking this video and commenting, and then take the money you would have given me and give it to one of the following organizations instead: the Actors Fund, Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, or my personal favorite option, go buy a ticket and see some local equity regional theater, because it is the absolute best way to learn. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. My name is Kent, and this has been your half-hour call.